Hello, and welcome back to Sky in the Shy podcast. I'm your host, Edwin Garcia, and this is episode 4 of Sky in the Shy. Today we are talking about the Chicago Sky being 10-8 and officially past the halfway point of the season. So we're going to give out the midseason awards for the Chicago Sky. The All-Star selections are official, and we have some Chicago Sky members who've made the All-Star team. We're going to talk about the games that have happened and the games coming up before the Olympic break. Let's get into it. During the last episode of the Sky in the Shy podcast, the team was at an all-time low. The team was 2-7, 7-game losing streak. I wrote an article called Chicago Sky Chaos where I talked about the losing that was happening, the trades, the waves, all the madness with the team. The team was at the lowest point it's been at since, the whole season started. And with such high expectations of winning a championship, the Sky were as far away from that reality as possible. But they had a lot of injured players, including Candice Parker. So it wasn't really as much of a, assessment of the actual talent fully healthy. But it was, that was the record of the team at the time, 2-7. And since then, man oh man, have they turned it around. They went on a 7-game winning streak, then 1 loss, 1 win, and add that up and you get 10-8. The team's been now officially 10-8 and turned it over after all that turmoil and all that losing early in the season. Again, it turns out they just need to get healthy. Once Allie Quigley came back, once Candice Parker came back, once Azurá Stevens was fully back, she missed a couple games during that stretch. And of course, Stephanie Dolson came back from her Team USA obligations. That's it. That's what the team needed. Apparently, you add 2 starters and the one of the top players off the bench back on the team, and you're going to see a much better team. So it was great to see the team, take those steps and really turn it around. They had no more room for error with all the losing they've done. They really had to go on an epic run, and they went on a run as epic as the fall was. So now they're 10-8, and things are looking pretty bright for the Chicago Sky at this point. I think, they maybe are still flying a little under the radar, because to me, at this point, look at how they've been since they've gotten healthy. They've won 8 of 9. I think that's pretty scary for the league, and I still think the league's a little bit, underrating them. But the Chicago Sky, in my opinion, have been underrated the last 2 seasons, so I'm not surprised that losing's kind of masked the danger that they have. But if they keep playing like this, people are going to start noticing, especially going into the playoffs. But long way away from there, again, I tell sports fans all the time, you're usually making assumptions midway through a story. I've seen, as everyone who's been on Twitter knows, people, start overreacting about the score in the second quarter. And I'm like, hey, the game's not over. Like, it's developing. And this is that same attitude, but towards the season. There's a very low points of the first half of the season. Right now, we're in a very high point. We'll see where things ultimately end up. I think I'm voting on high. That's where I had the Sky before the season started. And so far, given all the context, I still think that's where they're heading. They're heading towards good times and being a threat to win it all, if they can stay healthy. We saw what the team unhealthy looks like. We saw what the team healthy looks like. Health's always going to be a big factor, and I think they're going to be there. So we'll see. Hopefully they can. And so far, I think most of Skytown's pretty happy with that 10-8, first half, given the context of that 7-game losing streak. So that's where we are at the halfway point. The halfway point was officially at 16 games, and the team is currently at 18 games played. So we're a little bit past the halfway point. So on my website, skyintheshy.wordpress.com, I talked about, I gave out the season awards. And I've also already done this on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, maybe you've already seen the video. If not, then, you can get all the information right here. So we're going to give out the midseason awards, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I gave out the awards the way I did. So let's get into it. So again, the way I do my season awards is I'm only talking about it from the Chicago Sky perspective. So I'm not saying this is the MVP of the league. I'm saying this is the team MVP, team defensive player of the year, team 6th woman of the year, that aspect. So it's only from the team context. So no one else is eligible for these awards. They're team awards. So just wanted to make that clear, so there isn't any question of why they're all Chicago Sky players. They're going to be all Chicago Sky players because that's what I'm looking at. It's just a team evaluation. All right, so let's get into it. My MVP for the season so far is Kahleah Copper. Now, that might be a surprise to some people because I picked Candice before she actually played significant games. And how could she play well, the team win, and then I go with Copper? Well, a couple things. One, Copper stayed so consistent that it's really impressed me and opened up my eyes. And two, I feel like she's proven it time and time again. She's been so consistent in a season, where we talk about all the ups and all the downs. She's started in every single game. She's played in every single game. She's leading the team in points with 13.9 points on the season. 4.9 rebounds, 1.6 assists. Her consistency's been up, and she's really taking a step from even last year's production, which was quite good. I think this year she's being more efficient in that time. She's being a leader on the court. She's incredible on the offensive end, incredible on the defensive end, and I think she's the most valuable player on the team. Candice Parker's right there. And I might flip by the time we have another evaluation. Again, that's what I'm saying. We're breaking it down quarter by quarter. So hopefully by the end we have I have at least a really confident feeling, because I've been reevaluating this at every point. Again, like a report card in school where you get all the grades and then there's an ultimate grade at the end. So right now I'm gonna go with Kahleah Copper as the MVP. And again, amazing. A couple years ago she was barely a rotation player. Now she's an MVP, and we're going to get some more good news about Kahleah Copper later on in the podcast. So we'll get into that later, but congrats to Kahleah Copper so far. I have her as the MVP of the Chicago Sky. For Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Candice Parker. Now again, Candice Parker, it's a moment where I feel like she's came back and still been that player. That 2020 Defensive Player of the Year for the whole entire WNBA, and this year she's definitely the Defensive Player of the Year on this team. She's leading the team in blocks. She's been an incredible rim protector, and what really impresses me about Candice Parker, again I've said it before, I'll say it again, is that she can guard virtually anyone 1 through 5. She's a player that can't get schemed out defensively. You have to factor her in defensively. You do not have a player that makes that something you can kind of ignore or not worry about. You always have to be aware of where Candice Parker is on the court when you're on the offensive side of the ball, because of all the defensive strengths she has. She can't be schemed out of. You can go big, you can go small. It doesn't matter who your star is, who's playing in her position. She's probably going to dominate defensively. You got to factor that in. And on this team, she's the one player I think there's no scenario where she's not on the court during big moments defensively. Other players, I can see specific scenarios where that can happen. She's not one. She's just not someone who's going to be taken out of any game like that. And she's probably always going to be the best defensive option you have on the court for the Sky. So for those reasons, I give her the Defensive Player of the Year award. My 6th Woman of the Year is Allie Quigley. Now, when I gave out this award for the first quarter of the season, I actually didn't give out the award at all. I left it empty because I felt like there wasn't any there wasn't any bench player that really stood out and balled out enough for me to feel comfortable giving the award. And two, because of all the movement that was happening with the team, and the team was shorthanded a lot, barely qualifying for enough players to play, barely having the 8 players that were needed, and players playing out of position, out of their role. The bench was 3 players, and some of those players didn't end up on the team anymore, and they didn't play well when they did go on there. And I felt like the bench players were actually starting because the starters were out for so long. It was just a mess that first quarter of the year, as everyone knows, when they were 2-6 officially at the end of the first quarter of the year, and they were 2-7 when I released my podcast last time. And I didn't really feel comfortable giving out the award; it just didn't really make sense. But now it does. It's Allie Quigley, and I thought she was going to be the 6th woman of the year based on the rotation, and she was going from starter to bench player, and so far she's played so well in that role. She's averaging 12.2 points, 1.5 rebounds, and 1.6 assists per game. And yeah, she's shined very well. She's gone from starter to bench, and she's done a really good job with that role. It hasn't really ruined her momentum, and she's taking it in stride, and she's still the same great player that was starting for the Chicago Sky for so many years. Great 3-point threat, great handles, ability to cut to the basket, contribute offensively, be a spark for the team offensively. Another great wing player, can also handle the ball, can control the offense when needed. She's been amazing. She's been incredible. And again, she's one of the reasons the team's doing so well. She's came back along with Parker and Dolson and everyone who was missing, and has really sparked that offense and been the leader coming off the bench. So yes, Allie Quigley is my 6th Woman of the Year so far. And for most improved, I'm going with Ruthie Hebert. She's just been an awesome player coming off of her really rough rookie season, again, the context for that, she was in the Wubble, rookie year. Chicago Sky, even last year, were definitely, I think a championship contending team during the first part of the season. As injuries came about and players left the bubble, they were more of a fringe playoff team, but they made the playoffs. So again, a team with championship / playoff run aspirations. It's hard for a rookie in the WNBA to break into a rotation like that. And Ruthie struggled a lot. And she also didn't look, she looked like a rookie last year, right? She was a bit flustered, struggled, being able to defend. Her pick and roll game wasn't that good. She was a bit weak. She was able to get kind of pushed around on the court. She struggled with any kind of, legitimate WNBA post moves and being able to, get a bucket for herself. Those were all kind of negative. You saw flashes of what she could be, which is why they drafted her, but, you also saw all of those faults that I mentioned. And this year, you're seeing a lot less of that. She's really, turned things around. It's not just the production. It's not just her stat line that's impressive. It's the little things she's doing. She's such a better pick and roll player. She's having a lot better success when she's one-on-one defending a player. They're not able to take her off her spot and just push her around as much. She's holding her ground. So it's such a smart defender, such a good rim protector now. She's been really impressing me with that, knowing when to reach, knowing when to go for the block, knowing when to back off so she doesn't get into foul trouble. She would get into foul trouble a good amount her rookie year. That happens a lot less now. She makes much smarter defensive positions. She understands spacing so much better. She's better off of rotations. Really good again as a pick and roll player. She's really excelled in that spot. She's really good also coming off the pick and roll and popping and rolling to the rim. She's done a good job of getting herself open and kind of slipping out of those pick and rolls. And she's definitely the most improved player, and her minutes have gone up, her points have gone up. Everything's just been a wonderful growth, the kind of growth you want to see from a player after a second season. You want to see that progress. We know progress isn't just a straight line, but we like to hope that it is. And for Ruthie Hebert, from year 1 to year 2, it definitely is a straight line. It's just a jump up. So you love to see it, and Ruthie Hebert's definitely been the most improved player all season long, and she's still the most improved player on the team at the halfway point. All right, and the peak performers category, again, peak performers, we're taking out any opinion. It's just who's led the team in points, rebounds, and assists throughout the season so far. And here are peak performers for the Sky in each category. So for the points category, the peak performer, Kahleah Copper with 13.9 points. She leads the team in points. The biggest offensive, producer on the team, definitely. Kahleah Copper with 13.9 points. In the assist category, no surprise to anyone, it's Courtney Vandersloot. She's still the point guard. She's still, the dime machine that she is. And she's still the floor general for a team, again, with championship aspirations. It's playing so well in the WNBA. That's Courtney Vandersloot with 8.9 assists. And the leader for the Sky in the rebounding category, Candice Parker with 8.3 rebounds a game. Again, she's a great rim protector. She's a great defensive force, and that allows her to get more defensive rebounds. And, of course, she's getting a lot of offensive rebounds as well. And that's why she's leading the team in rebounds, which is no surprise for one of the – with probably the best big on the team. I think we can say she's the best big on the team for sure. And she's dominating the glass, and that's helping the team get more possessions and take possessions away from the opponents. So the rebounds are so important. So many times it's the key to the game. The team that wins the rebounds, they're probably going to get more opportunities. They're going to take more opportunities away from the other team, and they're likely the team that's going to win. You're not going to be out-rebounded many games and win. So having Candice Parker with so many rebounds, leading the team in that category is important. So that's the team at the halfway point. Those are the awards. And again, they're 10-8. So I think overall, I'm pretty happy with where the team is. I feel confident in what I thought of the team from the beginning of the season. That's mainly what I've seen when they're healthy. And again, we've talked about that 7-game losing streak. But I think you take this team at 10-8 with all the context of all those games, and you say, yeah, I'm good with that. Like, let's see what happens. Let's take it from there. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm pretty excited about where the team is and where it's going. They have a couple more games left. We'll get into those in a moment. But so far, I'm really happy with where the team is, and I feel just as confident and comfortable with my prediction that this team's going to win the championship. They're going to be right there because they've shown it when they're healthy. And if you've been following me on my YouTube channel, or if you're subscribed, you should definitely check it out, because I actually did a breakdown of the Chicago Sky's record all the way to the end of the season. And at the end of the season, I predicted they'll be 19-13. I went through every single game and I predicted, what the record would be. It was a really fun video, and I predicted they'd be 19-13. So you might be wondering, where does my prediction look like so far? And so far, it's actually pretty good. It's terrible game to game, game to game, and I knew it was going to be. I always said you want to assess the whole thing, and you're going to be wrong game to game when you're doing the whole season before the season starts. It's just impossible to predict the injuries and who gets hot on what night or whatever. But I think my opinion, my philosophy is that if you're good at evaluating the talent overall, it's going to break even. There's going to be games you're going to predict they're going to win. There's going to be games you're going to predict they're going to lose. But if you're knowledgeable on the league, you're going to get the overall, again, the overarching long-term story correct. And so far, I'm right there. At this point of the season, I had the team being 12-16 after 18 games. And right now, they're 10-8. So my predictions, they're 2 games behind my prediction. Now think about all the injuries and everything they had. They might even beat my prediction of 19-13. At the Olympic break, I had them being 13-7. Again, that's at this point impossible because they already have 8 losses, but I feel pretty good. Again, game by game, I'm awful. I'm usually getting those wrong, but I'm getting the overall, the pure number. I'm not too far away. I had the team being 2 games better. If they didn't get hurt, I think they would have blown out my predictions out the water. But again, I knew someone's going to get hurt at some point, and that's something you just can't factor in. So you just go with the talent versus talent, and hopefully you're kind of on the money on who the good teams are, who the bad teams are, who they can beat, who they might lose to. And so far, I'm pretty happy. My prediction looked really bad when they were 2-7. I'm like, oh my goodness, well, they're going to be nowhere near my number. But actually, they're only 2 games back. So feeling pretty good about myself there. Obviously, you as a journalist, a person who covers the team, covers the league, you just want to be overall right. I mean, obviously, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're talking about, but you also have to be honest. And I think some people struggle with that. So I'm honest with the team and how good I think they would be. And I'm rooting for them. Hey, I wish they were 18-0, but we all know that's probably not going to happen. They'll be like the greatest team of all time. So you have to be honest and assess it. And I'm always hoping when I predict they're going to lose that I'm wrong. But again, sports are kind of cruel that way. There's always a winner and loser every single night. And so far, I'm happy that my prediction is not too far off. And hey, if they outperform me and I look like I'm not knowing what I'm talking about, I'm okay with that. Obviously, I definitely don't want the other one where they're losing every game. So I feel pretty good overall. We'll see how they do with the games left and where they're at the Olympic break and where they're going to be at, for the end of the season, because we're not too far away from there, actually, believe it or not. All right, so again, we just passed the halfway point of the season. We've given out the awards, talked about everything that's happened. Breaking news happened yesterday. I'm recording this on a Thursday, and the news came out Wednesday. We got the official WNBA All-Star list, the All-Star selection. So this year they're doing something a little bit different. They're doing a Olympic team, the Team USA team versus kind of the WNBA All-Stars that aren't already on the Olympic team. So it was an interesting concept, and they officially announced what players made the team. So let's talk about what Sky players made the All-Star game. Chicago Sky had 3 All-Star players, which is a lot. I didn't think they were going to get 3, but they got 3. Last time they got 3 was in 2019. And here are this year's 3 All-Stars. We got Candice Parker, Courtney Vandersloot, and Kalia Copper. First time All-Star appearance for Kalia Copper. My MVP of the team so far, so that's pretty amazing. She's getting her flowers, from the league, and she's going to be one of the All-Star participants. So that's great. We got 3 of them. Last time that happened was in 2019 when it was Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, and Diamond DeShields. So there's a lot of star power on the Chicago Sky team. Quigley's still on this team. She's on the bench. Diamond's, starting, not having a year quite like 2019, but we know her potential. We know her ability. So I'm, optimistic we're going to see more of a burst of that, in the coming, months here. But yeah, it's been amazing seeing, the Sky getting this much representation. I think it shows, how powerful they really are when they're healthy. These are the 2 of these players were the ones missing during that streak. And like I said, Kalia Copper's been a just absolute boss all year, playing every game. She's been amazing, leading the team in points all year. she's been great, and I'm really excited to see them all play. So the game's going to be in Vegas on July 14th. Tickets are already on sale. I currently live in Los Angeles, so I'm not too far away from Vegas. I thought about, hey, should I make the trip down there? Do some coverage. Can I get it? Maybe I can get credentialed there if I make the right requests. But I think at this point I'm going to say no. I'm not going to go. It's just a little too soon. July 14th is a couple weeks away. I'd have to move so much of my schedule around to make it happen. I'll definitely be watching the game and talking about it, covering it as well. It should be fun. But I don't think I'm going to attend. But I'm not sure, if enough of the industry people kind of twist my arm that I got to meet them down there. I might do it. Being so close to Vegas, I'm definitely going to be in Vegas, at certain times. Haven't been so far, of course, still very much in the pandemic and haven't really, done really any travel at all. I've stayed, in Los Angeles. But I will be just kind of on a tangent and NBA related. I will be attending Summer League, but that's in another couple months here, so a good amount of time away from now. So I thought about heading out to Vegas. So I won't be there, or I'm unlikely to be there unless enough people twist my arm to make it happen. But I want to hear from everyone here who's going to be going to the game or talking about it. It's always a celebration of the sport, celebration of the W, and we want as many eyeballs on this as possible. And Vegas is a great place to have a all-star game, for the W. I'm sure it's going to be loud and cheerful and just a celebration of basketball. So that's an amazing thing. And yeah, I'm looking forward to watching all three play. Hopefully they have good games and hopefully they have fun and are able to celebrate themselves along with the league, because these women are incredible. All right, so the All-Star Game is also a send-off to the Team USA team. It's kind of like they're an exhibition game they're playing, and then they're off to the Olympics to go get another gold medal. So because of the Olympics and because of the amount of time that's going to take and everything, this is actually going to be an all-star break. So we're not going to have too much WNBA basketball coming up here. So the Sky play Friday, which is when this podcast is going to be released. So you'll either just start hearing it, or you maybe heard it after. And then the Sky have not that much basketball even after this game. They have another game on Saturday against the Mystics. Not this upcoming Saturday, but Saturday, July 10th. And then they're done. They don't play basketball for a whole month. There's going to be a big gap there. There won't be basketball again until August 15th, and that's the next official Chicago Sky game. Of course, some Sky players are going to be playing in Team USA. Stephanie Dolson specifically is going to be on the 3-on-3 team. Really excited to see how she performs there. It's the first time 3-on-3 basketball is represented at the Olympic level, and Team USA qualified. That's why she missed a few games during the regular season here, and now she'll be able to compete for that gold medal, and hopefully she can get it. But going to be weird having such a big break here. Obviously the break's going to be good for many players, get some rest, relax, rest up for the final leg, and that which will be furious, because it'll be just about a month of just finishing up that third quarter of the season and finishing up the rest of that season. The Sky's last game is September 19th, so from August 15th, September 19th is a little over a month. They're gonna have a lot of basketball to play, so hopefully the team can win these last two games. They have only two more games, and then the Olympic break starts. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if they're able to end on the break at 12-8. That would be the best case scenario, winning the next two games and ending at 12-8. All right, just about wrapping up the podcast here. Just want to add a couple little tidbits here of information about the podcast. Again, if you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed to it on my YouTube channel. On my YouTube channel, I do kind of a lot of basketball coverage. It's not just Chicago Sky. On the NBA side, I focus on the Lakers and some of the bigger NBA stories. So I'm making videos on that. But, if you're just a Chicago Sky fan, I got good news for you. On my YouTube channel, every single podcast is available there. You can watch it there and see me talking as well. And I also do 2 videos a month just on the Chicago Sky, whether that's giving out the midseason awards, whether that's maybe doing some player evaluations, my season predictions up there. So there's always some Chicago Sky content rolling out, at least during the season. We'll see what happens when the season's officially over. There might be a little bit of a gap there. Videos will be probably a lot less, shown. We'll see what happens when the season's over. But during the season, you can expect the podcast to be up there. You can expect 2 videos a month, and I've been consistently doing that. So there's always some good coverage there. And I feel like there's not enough coverage of the WNBA on YouTube. So I try to make sure, I'm putting my effort there. The next time we air a podcast will be in 2 weeks. So it'll be just after the Chicago Sky have finished all their games here and the Olympics are about to be underway. So we'll recap those last couple games and maybe preview, the Chicago Sky players, like Stephanie Dolson playing in the Olympics and talk about that. Thankfully, I'm credentialed with Team USA, so I'll be, doing the Zoom pressers and those kind of things. So on my website, Sky in the Shy podcast, skyintheshy.wordpress.com, I'll be releasing articles. I'll be hopefully talking to Dolson about how she's doing, and I'm going to be kind of approaching my Team USA coverage from a Chicago Sky perspective because we do have representation there, and I want to make sure we're covering it and talking about it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to covering Team USA for my first Olympics, as a journalist here. Really excited about that. It's a big moment for the sport, big moment for sports in general, so I'm excited to do that. So that's what the next episode will be, and then we'll have another one kind of recapping that and then previewing the rest of the season right before things kick off again for the August 15th. So that's kind of the rundown of the next 2 podcasts. We'll do a recap of what's happening, and then we'll do a preview right before the season, kicks off again and continues on. And again, this is episode 4, so I'm really proud so far of consistently, putting out, 2 episodes a month. So we're just getting started here, but it feels good to be covering the team and doing this podcast. I really wanted to do it. There's a couple Chicago Sky podcasts out there already I'm really happy with, and I wanted to add mine to it, and so far, the feedback's been great, and I'm really happy about what's been going on. So we're going to keep it going, and I have a list of potential guests. For the first podcast, I just wanted to kind of, get my feet underneath me, kind of understand the flow of this podcast. It's really tough to do one, but I didn't want to, force anyone to kind of be committed to, this kind of consistency. So I kind of wanted to start on my own and then bring in some guests here. But I've had a lot of, dream guests that I want to get on this podcast. I have a few that I'm going to start reaching out to. I think the next podcast I do will be another solo one. Maybe even the one after that, but by I think podcast episode 6 or 7, we're going to get our first guest, and I'm going to try to get more guests on consistently so we can talk about what's happening and maybe get different perspectives. There's a couple Chicago Sky people that I really disagree with, not in a negative way, but just, the way they view the game, the way I view the game is very different. And having those conversations and also adding that perspective of maybe someone who's higher on a player or lower on a player than me, that's going to be really interesting. It's going to stir interesting conversations and give you other perspectives other than just mine on this podcast, which obviously, I love giving my opinion, but, there are other, opinions that come from a solid logical reasoning that are different from mine. So I want to share those and do that. So if you're excited about, the idea of me working with other people, you're about to start seeing that in the next couple podcasts. And if you have any names that you would really want to, hear, me talk with, put it in the comments below. Send me a tweet at Sky in the Shy, and let me know. I already got a nice little list of people, so I think I'm good, and they might be similar to yours, but hey, maybe I missed some people out, and I'm specifically looking for women. I'm going to make sure my first few guests are women, so we can get that representation there. Again, it's WNBA, it's the women's league. It's not that it's just for women, but it's played by women and ran by women, and I want to make sure that I'm aware of that as a guy that, they're getting a big platform. And even though I'm building this one myself, and it's, I think rather small, but I'm really proud of it, I want to make sure that their voices are here too. So I'm going to make sure the first ones for sure are women. But hey, like I said, if you think of some guys you think would be great, that's fine. Put them in there. Just, I won't be picking them first. They're going to have to wait a few episodes before we start adding them in. But yeah, that's what's coming up, and be very excited, because again, we're just getting started with this podcast, and I'm liking how it's coming out so far, and hopefully it just continues to get better with time, and I'm really looking forward to making more of them. So next time we talk, the Chicago Sky will be heading into the Olympic break, and we're going to talk about what's going to happen during that Olympic break and what's happening in the couple games that we have left. So I'll talk to you during that episode. Have a good one.